Groovy English Podcast.
Hey there! Welcome back to Groovy English. I'm Chloe.
And I'm Aiden. We share real stories, useful tips, and everyday English to help you grow with confidence.
Wherever you are in your English learning journey, we're glad you're here.
If you're enjoying the podcast, feel free to like, subscribe, or share it with a friend. Let's get started.
Hi, friends. Welcome back to Groovy English, the podcast where we explore not just how to learn English, but how to grow with it. I'm Daniel, and today we're diving into a topic that's often underestimated, but completely life-changing once you pay attention to it. I'm talking about the invisible power of listening. Have you ever thought about how much of your life is shaped by the way you listen? Not just to podcasts or music or English learning content, but to people, to yourself, to the world around you. Listening is a quiet skill, but it can transform your conversations, your relationships, and yes, your language learning journey too. When people ask me how to improve their speaking skills, they often expect me to say, practice speaking more. And that's true, of course, but it's only part of the picture. The real foundation of great speaking, especially in a new language, is great listening. When I first started learning English seriously, I was obsessed with vocabulary lists and grammar books. I thought if I memorized enough words and learned the correct structures, I'd become fluent. But every time I tried to have a real conversation, I froze. It was like my brain had all the ingredients but no recipe. I was missing the rhythm, the tone, the feel of English. That changed the day I discovered the magic of just listening. Really listening. Not passively, like background noise, but intentionally. I started tuning into how native speakers talked, how they paused, how they connected ideas, how they used emotion in their voices. I realized that language isn't just words, it's music. And once I started listening more deeply, something amazing happened. I started speaking more naturally, without even trying so hard. My brain had absorbed the patterns. I wasn't just translating from my native language anymore. I was thinking in English. That's the invisible power of listening. It works in the background like quiet magic. But listening goes way beyond language learning. Think about how it feels when someone really listens to you. Like really listens. No interrupting, no judging, no planning their reply while you're still talking. Just being fully present. That kind of listening is rare, but it's one of the most powerful gifts you can give another person. In fact, I believe that listening is a form of love. It says, I see you. I hear you. Your words matter. And in a world that's always rushing, always shouting, being heard is deeply healing. I want to tell you a quick story. A few years ago, I was at a language exchange meetup. There was a guy there, let's call him Marco, who barely said anything the whole time. He listened quietly, smiled a lot, nodded politely. At first, people kind of overlooked him. But by the end of the night, everyone was talking about how warm and thoughtful he was. Because Marco made people feel seen. He wasn't talking to impress, he was listening to connect. That night reminded me that you don't have to be the loudest person in the room to make an impact. Sometimes the quietest people are the ones we remember the most, because they made us feel important. So let's bring this back to language learning. If you want to become a better speaker, become a better listener first. It will teach you natural expressions, pronunciation, and rhythm. But even more importantly, it'll teach you how to connect with people. You might be wondering, okay, Daniel, but how do I actually improve my listening skills? Great question. Here are a few things that helped me. First, listen without subtitles sometimes. I know, subtitles are comforting. But once in a while, challenge yourself to just listen. It's okay if you don't understand every word. Focus on the feeling, the tone, the context. It's like training your ears at the gym. Second, repeat what you hear. This is called shadowing. You hear a sentence, and then you repeat it immediately, trying to copy the speaker's rhythm and tone. It feels weird at first, but it's incredibly effective. It trains your brain and your mouth at the same time. Third, listen to real-life conversations. Podcasts, YouTube vlogs, interviews, these are gold mines. They're messy, natural, and full of real-life English. Don't just study textbook dialogues. Listen to how people actually talk. And finally, be patient. Listening is a skill that grows slowly and silently. You might not notice the progress right away, but trust me, it's happening. One day, you'll realize you understood an entire podcast without stopping. And it'll feel like flying. But let's zoom out a bit. Listening isn't just about understanding English. It's also about understanding people. And when you practice that skill, you become a better friend, a better coworker, even a better version of yourself. We live in a world where everyone wants to be heard, but not everyone wants to listen. That's why listeners are so powerful. They create space. They build trust. They make others feel safe. Sometimes, listening means staying silent while someone shares something difficult. Sometimes it means asking a gentle question instead of offering advice. And sometimes it means listening to yourself, your body, your intuition, your needs. Yes, self-listening is a thing too. We're often so busy being productive that we ignore what our inner voice is trying to tell us. But if you pause, breathe, and really tune in, you might realize what you actually need isn't another task, but rest, or courage, or kindness. I remember one moment when I was feeling overwhelmed with my English learning journey. I felt like I wasn't improving fast enough. Everyone around me seemed more fluent, more confident. My first instinct was to push harder, more study hours, more vocabulary apps. But then I paused. I listened to what I was really feeling. And I realized I was exhausted. What I needed wasn't more input. It was rest, a break, and a little compassion. That small act of listening to myself changed everything. I took a weekend off. I watched movies I loved. I journaled in simple English just for myself. And when I came back, my mind felt fresh. My motivation had returned. Sometimes, progress begins when you stop pushing and start listening. So whether you're listening to a friend, a podcast, or your own thoughts, remember, it's not just about hearing. It's about being present, being open, and being curious. Here's something you can try this week. Next time you talk to someone, focus on listening more than speaking. Don't interrupt. Don't think about what you'll say next. Just listen. You might be surprised by how much deeper your connection becomes. And for your English practice, choose one podcast episode or video and listen to it 3 times. First, just listen. Second, write down what you catch. Third, shadow the speaker. You'll be amazed at how much you absorb just through focused listening. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought. Listening is a quiet superpower. You may not get applause for it. No one may notice. but it changes things from the inside out. It makes you wiser, kinder, and more connected to the people and world around you. Sometimes, the best thing you can offer someone isn't advice. It's attention. It's staying quiet while they untangle their thoughts, trusting that they'll find their own way if they feel safe enough to speak freely. Listening becomes a kind of support, a soft place for others to land. And here's something interesting. When people feel truly heard, they often end up hearing themselves more clearly too. Your quiet presence can help them connect the dots in their own mind. That's powerful. And it doesn't require brilliance, just patience. I've learned that listening can be an act of love. When you listen to a friend talk about something that seems small but feels big to them, you're showing them they matter. When you listen to someone's story, even if it's messy or hard to follow, you're saying, I care about your experience. But I'll admit, being a good listener is not always easy. Sometimes I catch myself waiting for my turn to speak instead of really paying attention, or mentally rehearsing what I want to say next. That's okay. We all do it. The trick is to notice and come back to the present moment. Another habit I've had to unlearn is trying to fix things right away. Someone says, I'm having a rough week, and I immediately want to jump in with solutions. But often, people don't want to fix. They want to witness. Someone to say, that sounds hard. I'm here. Listening also means respecting silence. Pauses in a conversation can feel awkward, but they often give space for something deeper to surface. When we rush to fill the silence, we might interrupt something valuable, something the other person didn't even know they were about to say. And you know what else listening helps with? Confidence. When you really listen to others, you start to trust that people will also want to hear you. It becomes a two-way street. And slowly, conversations start feeling more like connection than performance. Let's talk about language learning again for a second. One thing I noticed is that learners often put a lot of pressure on speaking. I need to say this perfectly, or what if I forget the word? But listening builds a quiet kind of strength. It teaches you rhythm, vocabulary, tone. It fills you up so you have more to give when you do speak. And if you're shy, if you're nervous about joining conversations, being a great listener is a superpower. People feel comfortable around you. They remember how you made them feel. And that makes it easier to join in next time. There's also something magical about overhearing conversations. On a bus, in a cafe, in a podcast. When I started learning English, I used to listen to conversations between native speakers and imagine what I would say if I were part of it. It was like mental role play, and it helped me a lot. Over time, that passive listening turned into real understanding. And not just of language, but of culture too. I noticed how people used humor, how they softened a disagreement, how they changed their tone depending on the topic. Listening made me more observant and more empathetic. Listening also helps with emotional regulation. When someone vents or expresses frustration, and we just listen, we help them release that energy. We don't need to absorb it or fix it. Just being present is healing. That's something I've only recently started to appreciate. And have you noticed? People who listen well often have better relationships. It's not because they talk more, it's because they make others feel seen. They build trust one moment at a time. In romantic relationships, in friendships, even at work. Listening creates a kind of safety. And when people feel safe, they open up. That's when real connection happens. I remember once I was having a tough day, and a friend called me. She didn't try to cheer me up or give advice. She just listened. And I cried and laughed and talked for almost an hour. By the end, nothing in my life had changed, but I felt lighter because someone made space for me. We all need that, and we can all offer that. Listening is free, but it's priceless. Sometimes the invisible things are the most powerful. Just like gravity or love, listening isn't something you can hold in your hands, but you can feel its effect. You can feel when someone's really with you. In a world that's always rushing, slowing down to truly listen is almost revolutionary. It's a quiet rebellion against distraction, a vote for connection. And this might surprise you, but becoming a better listener also makes you a better thinker. When you hear different perspectives, different stories, your world expands. You understand more and judge less. It makes you more creative too. Ideas come more easily when your mind has been nourished by the voices of others. That's why so many writers and artists are great listeners. They absorb the world. And if you're a language learner, you've probably experienced this. The more you listen, the easier it gets to guess meaning, to pick up patterns, to feel the language. Even without knowing every word. Listening helps you tune in, not just to others, but to yourself. You start noticing your reactions, your thoughts, your feelings. It's like learning to hear your own inner voice. It's also an act of humility. When we listen, we admit that we don't know everything, that someone else might have something valuable to share. And that's beautiful. Sometimes, listening is also about noticing what's not said. The hesitation in someone's voice. The emotion behind their words. Listening with empathy means reading between the lines, gently. And here's a secret. When you truly listen to others, they often start listening to you in return. Not just to your words, but to your heart. And that's when communication becomes something deeper. I've learned to listen not just with my ears, but with my eyes and heart. To notice body language. To feel energy. To sense when someone needs space, and when they need someone to stay. We're all walking around carrying invisible loads. When we listen, we help lighten that load, even just a little. So if you ever feel like you're not contributing enough to a conversation, remember, your listening is a gift. A real one. You don't need the perfect words to make a difference. And if you're learning English and feel unsure about your speaking, start with listening. Give yourself time to absorb, to observe. Trust that the words will come. And while you're at it, listen to yourself too. To your needs, your rhythms, your limits. Listening to others starts with being kind to yourself. Let's bring listening back into style. Let's make it cool to be the quiet one sometimes. The one who hears, who understands, who sees. Because in the end, listening isn't about being silent. It's about being present. You see, when we truly listen, not just hear but really listen, we give others a sense of being seen, heard, and understood. And that can be incredibly powerful. It's not just about collecting information. It's about connection. It's about creating space for someone else's truth without judgment or interruption. I've noticed that when I listen more, I assume less. Instead of rushing to conclusions or reacting based on my own assumptions, I stay curious. I ask better questions. I respond with more empathy. And that changes the quality of every interaction, whether it's with a stranger, a friend, a student, or even myself. One of the most surprising things about listening is how much it teaches you about silence. Silence isn't empty. It's full of meaning. In fact, sometimes the most honest moments happen in silence, when someone hesitates, pauses, or struggles to find the right word. If we rush to fill that silence, we might miss something important. Listening also helps us improve our language skills, especially when learning a second language. When you pay attention to rhythm, pronunciation, idioms, and how people naturally express themselves, your ears become your best teachers. You begin to notice patterns. You start understanding not just the what, but the how and why behind the words. And here's something that changed my life. Listening helped me become a better speaker. You'd think it's the other way around, right? That speaking helps with confidence. But no, when you listen deeply, you learn how to express yourself more naturally. You borrow the rhythm of native speakers. You understand how ideas flow in conversation. You find your own voice by learning from others. There's also a kind of emotional listening. It's not just about the words being said, it's about what's underneath them. When someone says, "I'm fine," but their tone says otherwise, a good listener notices. That kind of emotional sensitivity creates safety. It builds trust. It says, "You matter to me." In friendships, relationships, even in professional settings, listening shows leadership. Not the loud, commanding kind. The quiet, thoughtful kind. The kind that invites collaboration and makes others feel respected. It's not about having all the answers. It's about being open to others' ideas and experiences. And you know what? When you feel overwhelmed or unsure of what to say, listening can be your anchor. You don't always need the perfect reply. Sometimes just being present and attentive is enough. People remember how you made them feel more than what you said. And here's another interesting thing. Listening helps reduce misunderstandings. How many times have we jumped to conclusions because we thought we knew what someone meant, only to realize later that we completely misunderstood them? It happens more often than we'd like to admit. But when we slow down and really tune into the words, the tone, the intention, we give ourselves the chance to respond instead of react. Sometimes, the most powerful listening happens when we say nothing at all. Just a nod, the pause, eye contact, a soft din. These tiny cues let the speaker know, "I'm with you. Keep going." And often, that's all someone needs, to be encouraged gently, without pressure, to express what's inside. Listening also teaches us patience. In a world that moves so fast, where we're often expected to have quick comebacks or instant solutions, taking a moment to really absorb what someone is saying can feel almost revolutionary. It's like we're giving ourselves permission to slow down, and that's something we all need more of. And let's not forget how listening helps us navigate conflict. When tensions rise, we usually want to defend ourselves or explain our side. But what if we paused and listened, really listened, to what the other person is experiencing? We might discover that beneath their anger is hurt, or fear, or something we didn't expect. That awareness can open the door to healing. As someone who creates a podcast and teaches English, I can tell you, listening is how I learn what truly matters to people. I listen to their struggles with language. I listen to what inspires them. And that helps me make better episodes, because I'm not guessing what people need, I'm responding to what they're already saying. I also think about how listening changes our self-talk. Have you ever listened to your own thoughts? Really listened? Sometimes we're not kind to ourselves. But when we practice deep listening with others, it becomes easier to be gentle with ourselves too. To say, I hear you, I understand, let's try again. There's a beautiful phrase that says, to listen is to lean in softly, with a willingness to be changed by what we hear. I love that, because that's the ultimate goal, isn't it? Not just to collect data, but to be changed by it. To become more aware, more open, more compassionate. It's easy to underestimate the power of listening because it doesn't demand attention. It's not flashy or loud. But in every meaningful moment of our lives, listening is there. Quietly shaping our understanding, deepening our relationships, and anchoring us in presence. And when we listen more, we begin to speak with more care. We choose our words with thoughtfulness, knowing what it feels like to be truly heard. That awareness starts to ripple outward, in our families, friendships, and even in the words we say to strangers. So the next time you find yourself in a conversation, try this. Don't plan your response. Don't worry about what you'll say next. Just be there, fully, quietly, openly. Because sometimes, the most important thing we can say is nothing at all. Listening also creates a space where people feel safe to be vulnerable. When someone senses that you're not rushing them, not judging them, not trying to fix them, they begin to open up in ways they normally wouldn't. And that's a beautiful thing. Vulnerability is the birthplace of connection, and listening is what makes it possible. Sometimes we don't realize how hungry people are to be listened to. It's not about needing attention, it's about needing to feel seen. Think about the last time someone gave you their full attention. No distractions. No interruptions. Just quiet, focused presence. Didn't it feel like a gift? That's the gift we can offer to others every single day. And what's more, listening helps us understand perspectives that are very different from our own. Whether it's across cultures, generations, or belief systems, when we listen with curiosity instead of judgment, we open the door to empathy. We don't have to agree, but we begin to understand. And that understanding makes the world a little softer. I've also found that listening helps with creativity. When I listen deeply to others, and even to my own inner thoughts, it sparks ideas I hadn't considered. New angles, new stories, new ways to connect. For anyone working in a creative field, this kind of listening isn't just nice, it's necessary. And finally, listening reminds us that presence is enough. In a culture that's obsessed with doing, fixing, and achieving, it's easy to forget that sometimes just being there, quiet, grounded, and open, is more powerful than anything we could say. I also want to say, listening is a gift you give, but it's also a gift you receive. When you slow down and really tune in, you notice beauty in small things. A laugh, a sigh, a shared moment. It's like life becomes a little more vivid, a little more meaningful. So, before we wrap up today, I want to leave you with this. Listening is one of the most invisible but transformative skills we have. It doesn't get much attention. It's quiet, but its impact is loud, in relationships, in language, and in life. That's it for today's episode of Groovy English. I hope this gave you something to think about, and maybe inspired you to listen a little more intentionally this week. Whether you're learning English or just learning how to live more fully, remember, it all begins with how we listen. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to share it with a friend or leave a rating wherever you're listening. And as always, I'd love to hear from you. How has listening helped you in your journey, language, or otherwise? Take care, stay groovy, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye for now.
Your English is shining brighter by the minute. Hit that next video to keep leveling up your skills. Or dive into our other episodes for more secrets to talk like a pro. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share to join the Groovy English crew.